Okay, let's shift gears to some physical things you've got to do. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of learning the scripts, okay? Learning the words and being able to deal with that rejection. Because really, ultimately, all thing we're trying to find is 7 to 10 key people, key leaders who really want this thing back, who want to be somebody who realize the Lakers aren't the big leagues and the Cowboys is not the big leagues. The big leagues is you becoming financially independent, you being somebody and you being intense about it and finding leaders who want to sell that dream to their people. There's a great dream. There's a great book that I would like to recommend. It's called Selling the Dream by a guy named Gal Kawasaki. And it's such a great book. What I got from it, he's the guy who sold Macintosh for Apple and made that concept become a reality. But the principle of the book, the principle of that book is about how Steve Jobs and Apple Computer, Steve Jobs, as we all know the story, God rest his soul, is a young guy in his 20s, right, working out of his garage. And he's got this vision to build a great company. He calls the chairman of PepsiCo at the time, Scully, and gets his voicemail. And imagine this big vision, okay? Watch this. This guy, Scully, is worth a couple $100 million. Jobs is bankrupt in his garage. He leaves a voicemail, right? Steve Jobs, that is. He leaves a voicemail for the guy, Scully, and says, hey, this is Jobs. And if the dream of your life is to continue selling sugar water to kids, teenagers, then great. Think about that. Just stop right there. He's challenging what the guy is doing. He says, great. However, if you want to go change the world, give me a call back. So Jobs gives Scully his number and hangs up the phone. Scully calls Jobs back, and Jobs closed him on leaving, Pepsi-Cola, whatever it's called, the brand name is called. Steve Jobs, recruits Scully away from that, and the rest is history. Now we have all these devices, right? Born out of that relationship, though, became Gates, Allen, and all these people who are, ruling the financial tech world today. That was all founded because of a phone call prospecting that Steve Jobs had to call Scully and get things going. And that's the sort of vision that you got to have, in the sense of, I'm willing to take this rejection, but I'm gonna go make it happen regardless. You know what I mean? And, and that's why I really want to put this recording together. I'm all over the place kind of thinking, what are some of the things some of us go through in our minds as people, as agents. And we have this inflated sense of seriousness, this inflated sense of importance, which isn't necessarily true. Not that you're not important, but the idea of everyone seriously cares about you or your idea enough to deny it is just simply not the case. That's just simply not the case. They're not gonna hang it over you your whole life. So you gotta be willing to be out there with it and let them know what you're doing, right? So I just think of, Scully would have been the silly one not to follow Steve Jobs. And that's how I feel about our business. We're out there saving American families from going into debt, helping them become financially independent, giving them an opportunity to be somebody, a shot at the big time, to grow, contribute as an entrepreneur, recognition, all the things you want in life, freedom. And if someone rejects that, then that's their fault. They're the dumb, not us. Right? Timing's not right, or they just don't understand what we were saying, right? I know that going in, okay? All right, so let's talk about what you got to get done physically to build a big base shop, okay? Build relationships with people. That's one. When you recruit people into our business, you got to build relationships with them. When I recruit someone, one thing I'm going to do right away, I'm going to help them get them licensed, and I'm getting them in the field right away. Every new recruit needs to get out in the field with you right away in the right market. And we're going to talk about that next on the next recording. But I'm thinking about it like this. They get licensed, they have their grand opening, and they spend the next 7 days with you in the field to go see 10 couples. Like, they're locked in, right? They're locked in. We're going to go on appointment every day for the week at 5 and at 6 and at 7:30. And then we're going to stay on Zoom after and recap. And then the first time they see the presentation for the first time, they say, wow, coach, you're amazing. You're unbelievable. I don't think I'll be able to do that. What an amazing guy you are. Then they see me do it again. They're like, wow, you said the same thing you said last time. I said, yeah, human beings are human beings. Human nature is human nature. And then we go out again. And they say, wow, coach, you said the same silly joke. I think I could do this. And pretty soon, after 5, 6, 7, or 10 of them, they now believe they can get a result. The new recruit, that is. Now they're willing to take action, right? A couple nights out in the field with me, that's where we built our business, with our leadership team. I would go out on an appointment at 5, at 6:30, at 7, at 8 o'clock. And that's how we built the business, just going back to back to back with getting people in the field. Here's what's going on in your business. There's too much idle time in between appointments. So when that person has their grand opening, when that person gets their license, you want to take them on their 10 macho appointments over the next 7 days, really 15. And you're going to discuss it with them after. Hey, did you catch that objection when they said that? Here's why I said this, right? Here's why I said this. Here's why I said that. You want to be intense with your follow-up in your new licensed agent. Follow-up meaning follow up on what may be going through their mind, right? Follow up. Yeah, you want to follow up. You want to be aggressive with it, right? Here's why I did this. Here's why I said this. When they said that, look, here's how we're gonna make them a client. Watch the difference we're gonna make for them. And guess what? We're selling a dream at that point, right? We're selling a dream big time. And they're like, wow, I can really see me doing this. I'm like, yeah, you can. You're good enough, right? This business is not hard. This business is not much more than you telling people what your dreams are and you getting to know theirs, right? And I got good at doing that. I got good at spending nights. I think about it like this. You spend 5, 6, 7 nights out with me right away after license, your first month in the business. We're gonna be great friends. Our kids are gonna be friends, God willing. We get to know each other. We're gonna go to each other's birthday parties. It's gonna be awesome. Because you can get a result. And guess what? I'm building a leader. That's the point. And when I say I want you to be thinking about you. I'm building a leader. And that's gonna make my next point. You gotta be in the right market. Write this down. You got to be in the right market. You got to recruit qualified couples. Honestly, that's the explosion. That's the explosion, right? You people that's in the right market is the point. You're not gonna be willing to sell. You're not gonna be wanting to sell, ice to Eskimos, right? So you're also not gonna recruit people all the time that are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 25 years old that are single, right? You want people in the market of what you're selling, right? They're married. They own a home. They make more than $80,000 to $100,000 a year household income, right? Their desires are to go be somebody. They want to start their own business. That's who you want to be working with. By the way, I had none of those folks. I was 25 years old. That's the only thing I had. I was 25 years old, and I was living at home with my mother and my stepfather, and I was borrowing my stepdad's car to even get to the meetings to write notes on how to do all this, right? So I was a 0-pointer, but that's got to be the exception to the rule. So my point is, the same as my wife, Caitlin. She was 21 years old, 3 jobs, single, living in an apartment with a bunch of roommates. However, if you build your business on exceptions, you're going to be exceptionally broke. Now, with the volume of recruiting and building and attracting people, we're going to get those people. We have a stud like that in our team now, Brian Avila. At the time of this recording, Brian's 25 years old. He's a 6-figure earner. He has his own team calls. He has his own team swag. He has his own team name. He has his own team trips. But when we found Brian, he was 18. So it's been 7 years he's been in business with us. So you look at Brian Avila and you're like, man, he's 25 years old and making 6 figures. He's one of the prolific top leaders. Yeah, you're seeing the Brian today. It took us 7 years to get to this point. And when I say us, I mean him. He went through so many personal challenges, and it grew his identity. It grew his bank account. He started going to seminars, and he started getting coaching, and he humbled himself. I had to do the same, quite frankly. I had to do the same. I had to humble myself and listen to some people that had authority in this field, in this industry. And my point is, you speed up the learning curve of a brand new recruit if you help them and yourself recruit couples in the right market, right? That's an exception to the rule, because the opposite is a couple. I think of JR and Cheryl Galicia. They came into business with us, and watch this. They're married. At that time, they had 4 kids. Owen being 2 years old. Now he's 10 at the time of this recording. He was 2 years old, and JR and Cheryl's first 5 months, they made $100,000. Their first 9 months, they made $155,000 in business, part-time as an MD. Not even as an EMD, not as an SMD, as an MD, $155,000 their first 9 months part-time, right? Why? Because of the market, because they were in the right market. It took me 2.5 years to get my $100,000, maybe even closer to 3 years to get my $100,000 ring. And that couple came in and got it their first 9 months, right? So what's the point? People in the right market are going to take you to people in the right market, right? And those people are more likely to get a result than the younger people are. So you want to work with them in the right market. Try to recruit next couples. Try to get both husband and wife in the business at all costs. And that means maybe doing a business together. Maybe best they both get licensed. Maybe not. Maybe one get licensed, but they both show up to meetings and take notes. Or worse than that, maybe they're both involved, and one of them is going to get licensed, and one's going to do the supportive stuff, come to big events, have team dinners at the house or team retreats, and the spouse, and this doesn't matter about the gender, it doesn't matter, but one of the spouses are usually the ones preparing the food and the catering and making sure everyone has a place to stay, and having the manuals ready and having the licensing and all that other stuff, right? Maybe one's going to do admin, back office stuff, have couples meetings. But I will tell you this, You show me the successful leaders in our company, and I'll tell you what, they're couples. I don't think, let me think right now. Yep. There's not $1 million earner in our company that's single. And I'm not saying you can't. There's not $1 million earner in our company that their spouse isn't all in our business. And I'm not saying that I can't. I'm just saying it's never happened. That's all I'm saying, right? You'll find people all the time, well, this is his thing or her thing, and I support whatever he's doing, but that's not enough. You need to get people involved emotionally and dreaming together, getting spouses to come to the meetings and running a partner's organization. And this business is difficult when you're gone all day, all night, and don't get a result, and you come back home and your spouse is like, man, is this really worth it? You haven't even seen the kids. You missed the ballerina event. You missed the basketball game. You got to get couples emotionally involved. The number one recruit you're going to have in your business is the spouse. Either your spouse and or whoever you recruit, their spouse. Their spouse. We got to get their spouse recruited, emotionally believing in it, seeing the big dream, right? And if they're not there to witness all that, you're going to create a gap. It'll be like you going to church and your spouse stays home all day on Sunday, or you go worship and they're into other things that are the opposite. You just create a gap in your relationship, and that's not something that we're for here or part of our organization, right? You're going to all these big, because you're going to go to all these big events and you come home all pumped up, fired up, super excited, and they're at home, and you come home to them and they're gonna be like, man, this guy's all weird. Like, they're gonna think you're crazy, right? That's why spouses both have to go. They're gonna think you joined some crazy thing. And I think you guys know what I'm referring to, all these different cult pyramid things looking, multiple level different looking things, right? So at minimum, you have to get them both emotionally involved in business and dreaming together, right? Sometimes it might take a while, right? It might take a while to get a spouse at a big event after a couple years, a couple events, they're now coming to the meetings. I think about a power couple named Raheem and Layla. Layla was like, man, Raheem's doing well. If he's making $200,000-$400,000 without me, I need to come full time and really do licensing and really come to big events. We can make $2 million together, right? Or something happened to him, the spouse would have to know enough to take over, or someone competent to run the business. And then I'll tell you, after years of watching that couple coming to events together, Layla comes full time, and now look, they go from $180,000 a year ago to now $400,000 in income, right? Layla's been the backbone of Raheem and Layla's business, right? And that's just how it goes. Same with Caitlin and I. When people see me, as you guys know, they think I'm a little crazy and intense and fired up and super excited, and then they meet Caitlin and it's like, oh, she's sweet, she's beautiful, she right? Because she balances me, right? They have this, people, I know you guys are thinking, all right, coach has to be okay if she's married to him, right? Because I'm just intense in business, right? But it's important to have your spouse involved in business. It's just super major way. Like, in a super major way, you got to do it, okay? So you got to recruit couples, build relationships with them, sell people to dream, be a fanatic about personal development. Make sure you're having fun, more importantly. Learn our prolific system. Be passionate, intense. Keep driving it like crazy. The next thing is this. You got to get wide. You got to recruit a ton of directs. A ton of directs. Okay, so that's the next thing. Take a break here, guys, on the edit. Deep breath. Okay, ready to go. Your plan gotta be a minimum of 3 to 6 directs every single month. Direct recruits every month that go through all of our filters, right? Go through our process. They learn the words and help them recruit some people themselves. 3 to 6 directs a month for 4 to 5 years. I can't guarantee anything, but you should be financially independent. I'll give you my numbers. I'll pull them up here. Like, my first year in this business, I recruited 51 directs. My second year, actually, let me look here. Yeah, 51 directs. My first year in business. And that's a little bit that's about 4 a month. Not a big deal. That's like 1 a week. That's about 1 a week. It's 7 days in a week to recruit one person. That's not impossible. We all should sell out to that, recruiting 1 direct every single week. We got 7 days to bring 1 new person in business with us, right? My second year, it says here is 52, right? So almost the same, which is pretty cool. My third year, 48. My fourth year, 60. My fourth year, 55. So for 4 years straight, I brought in about 200 direct recruits, by the way, right? Which is not a ton, because if you break it down, right, it's about four a month. Not a big deal. Not a day, not an hour. 4 direct recruits a month, no big deal for about 4 years straight, right? And you look up, 4 or 5 years later, and Caitlin and I were financially independent, which is pretty cool, right? Which is pretty cool. So I recruit someone, I sell them the dream, I teach them our words, take them in the field, and the real superstars, qualified, like excited, pumped up, fired up ones, I train myself, I work with myself, I spend time with myself. We go to each other's houses and our kids get to know each other and we really build each other up. And the rest of them, I use our matchup system, and that's cool too, right? I always say cherry pick the best and match up the rest. That's just my philosophy as the leader. But at your level, you probably got to work with everybody at the beginning to climb through their market in order to find the qualified person. So here's another note I want you to write down. Don't just go to people, go through people. Don't just go to people, go through people. So this person might not be the right market, but they may know someone that knows someone that knows someone that knows someone that is the right market. They may know someone who knows someone that connect you to the principal of a school, and that person's the right market, right? So that's how I look at it, right? So I call it cherry pick the best, match up the rest. So I probably match them up, but they were my recruit. They're belong to me. They're direct to me, and it gives me an opportunity to feed the rest of the team. I'm like, hey, I recruited this person. This person's awesome. You're going to work with them. Go take them on their 10 to 20 module appointments and help them make 50 grand, and you go make 50 grand, right? So it's kind of like I'm the point guard or I'm the quarterback. I'm feeding the team. I'm throwing the touchdowns. And when I say I want you to think about you and your long-term success in business, not Dewan, not coach. When I say I want you to think about you, right? So you go recruit a ton of people and just match them up, uplines and downlines, right? So the good people, the people that really wanted it bad, I trained them myself. I built relationships with. So I believe we can stop the tape right now. If you just simply go recruit 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 directs every single month, if your part-time is closer to 3, if you're full-time, it should be like 4 to 5 to 6, right? Which is pretty cool. I did that every month for our first 4 or 5 years. Another point is when you're building somebody, belief drives everything, okay? Belief is shaped by your perception of your experience. What you believe you can do, you'll end up doing. Just straight to the point. The greatest gift you could give somebody is to let them know that you believe they can do it. If I can get you to believe that you can make it here, you will ultimately make it here. That's just how it works. And the way that I do that, I'm constantly trying to make people feel special. Always, you got to think about this in your mind. Always, always, always. This person has a flashing sign over their head, a big old neon sign over their head that says what? Make me feel better, right? People have that. That's the truth. Yeah, it's invisible, but you got to imagine that you can see it, right? Make me feel good. Make me feel special. Tell me I can make it. Tell me I'm a good person. Tell me that I can go far in this business. Tell me I deserve to succeed. Tell me and show me I could buy my dream home. Tell me and show me I could buy my dream car. Tell me and show me that I could pay for my daughter's college tuition in private school and stop lying. Hey, you got to go to junior college first, when the truth is you just can't afford their first 2 years. Like people want to hear that. Second, people want to see that. Third, you got to put them in position and help them achieve that. Okay? That's like, I mean, it don't matter who it is. The most polished corporate execs we brought in from Meta and all these other companies down to, anyone else. B-suite, C-suite people. It doesn't matter. Blue collar, white collar. People, human nature is human nature. People want to be believed in, right? I like people, it doesn't matter. Everybody wants to be somebody. Everybody wants to feel special. We've had that since we were kids, right? So now what I do is I'm constantly letting people know that they can make it here. They deserve to make it big, right? And here's the better part about that too. You know why I'm always selling a dream that you can make it here? Because now it puts me on blast. It puts me on spotlight, meaning, okay, I just promised this person something. I got to go deliver on it. And I don't know about you, but what I love about having integrity is I'm a man of my word. If I say I'm going to do something, then I do it. Or I'm a woman of my word. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. You got to go be that woman of your word. You got to go be that man of your word. How do you recruit someone into business with us and then it's like having a baby and expecting the baby to change their own diaper? Like what fires me up in a bad way is when people say, Coach, I'm waiting on them to give me their list. Like, what are you waiting on? You go get the list, right? Like, I'm waiting on them to get licensed. What are you waiting on? Set the exam date and go get them licensed, right? So anyway, we got to get to know people. And I'm going to tell you why. As in leadership development, that's our team name, Prolific Leadership Development. When you're getting to know someone and their goals and dreams, you know how to make them feel special because you know them enough to tell them what's good about them, right? Whether they're a great caring person or they're loyal, they're great with people, they're great with numbers, or they're great with admin, or they have natural leadership, or they have an amazing spouse, they have a ton of integrity, or they have a great sales background, or they're pretty organized and structured. I constantly want to find out something that's great about you. You have a ton of integrity. So I'm always telling you, you know what, Dave, you're going to make it big here. Here's why. Because with your integrity, man, people are going to follow you, and you're going to win big time here. I know you're going to win. The reason you're going to make it here is because you have so much integrity, right? You really do. The way you talk with people, I look at Cheryl, I'm like, man, Cheryl, the way you talk with people and motivate people, you're going to be huge here, right? You're going to make it big here because of your people skills, and you love people, and that amazing spouse you got in JR, right? You gotta always constantly be thinking about quitting this business. People, no matter what, the entire time, no matter how much you sell the dream, they're thinking about it. They don't think they can make it, or maybe I shouldn't do this, or my spouse doesn't support me. How, you know what I mean? They're going through that 24/7. I'm gonna tell you something. It is a drain on the leader, right? It's definitely a drain on the leader. But as a leader, you got to be able to constantly tell people that they can make it. But people will believe you, right? People will believe you. However, let me tell you when they won't believe you. They won't believe you unless you tell them something true about them. You got to tell them something true about them. How do you know it's true about them? Because you spent time getting to know them. We don't have enough leaders getting to know their people. Some of our leaders, you got to see results first before you spend time to get to know people, and that's why you don't have a business. You have to spend time getting to know your people, okay? Like Walter and Karen Jenkins, they're some of the best at loving on people, getting to know them, getting to their world, getting them to church, helping them out in tough times. Walter and Karen are some of our best at that. They spend a lot of time flying all around the country getting to know their people. They're some of the best example of that. That's just the truth. Like, think about it. If you know you're terrible with people, but I say you're going to win because you're good with people, you're going to be like, okay, coach doesn't know me. He says this to everybody, right? That's the truth. So think about it. When I tell you something that is true about you, you lay in bed at night, you got your doubts, your spouse isn't supportive, your bank account isn't reflective of all the Zoom calls you've been on, and you're staring at the ceiling, you need a reminder that you can make it. And you're going to be thinking, because you got rejected earlier today, right? So you're probably laying in bed and you need some motivation. You just look back and after your appointments and all of that stuff, and people are like, man, like you got this. People in your head on both sides. You got this and you don't got this. So you always got to think about, you know what? These people are trying to distract me. Think about it. Your family, your friends, your cousins, they say, hey, we don't see you anymore. You're distracted, or whatever that thing is you tried to recruit us into. Like, what is that, etc. It's taking up so much time. In that moment, I gotta have that recruit in that moment saying, you know what? Coach said I can make it here because I'm really good with people. And you know what? I am good with people. Or coach said I can make it here because I'm intense, or I got great integrity. And you know what? I am intense. Or you know what? I do have great integrity, right? He's right. I am going to make it. The reason has to be logical, you guys, is what I'm saying. Build from people's strengths. Find out what they're great at, right? What their greatest asset is, right? Whether it's managing their time, but tell them they're going to make it because of that reason. And you can do that with integrity because it's true. I've seen people make it here just because they're simply great with people, or simply because they work hard, or simply because they're great at organizing things. This business is good about, let me tell you what this business is all about what you're good at and surrounding yourself with people what you're not good at. It's called leverage. This business is about mastering what you're good at and surrounding yourself with people who are good at what you're not good at. That's just how it works. They got to fill in the gaps and you help them, right? So let's say you're not a great speaker. Work on it, but build from your strengths and work on people who are a great speaker, right? If you're not good at organizing, right, illustrations and all that stuff, recruit someone who is pretty organized and techy that can teach you that, right? Which is pretty cool. Here's my greatest weakness. Truthfully, I've always lacked patience, and I think a lot of us kind of struggle with that as well. Just patience. Like, I'll get a new person or even a continued veteran to tell me what they want to accomplish, and then when they self-sabotage just due to their own inflated sense of importance, that's usually what it is. We think we're so much more important than we are, in the sense of oh, people are going to think this about me if I prospect them or my team. Or I'm like, dude, like, it's not that serious. It's not, right? Our job is to get these products in the hands of people who really need them. That's just the truth, right? So my point is, I've always been impatient with that particular type of person who tells me they want to make it big, who tells me they want to get out of debt, who tells me, and then I lay out the plan, and then I coach them, and I coach them a little bit too hard and maybe hurt their feelings a little bit, and that's okay because I'm not here to sell ice cream. They say if you want to make everybody happy in business, then sell ice cream. And we're not selling ice cream, right? We're selling things that's not really bought, it's sold. People don't go to the store looking for financial services. It's sold to them. So I have to be a little intense as a coach, and you do as well, right? So I just surround my people who are a little bit more patient with people, like a Maria Puche, or a Kristen Keach, or even a Monica Santo. Definitely my wife, Caitlin Cofield. I surround myself with Lance Nugget, with Walter Jenkins, with Cedric Blake, people who are extremely patient with people and guiding them on the next level, like a Kenneth Mobley, like a Monique Brandon, right? We surround ourselves with patient people because that's the skill set that I don't have, right? So anyway, my point is, I was just sold in the beginning of this thing, like, DeJuan, you're going to make it here. Why? Because you're intense and you're fired up and you're focused and you're a competitor. You come from the athlete market. You're hardworking. So when I would think about quitting, I'll say, you know what? Eric Olson said I could make it here because I'm a competitor. I'm a former athlete like he is. And you know what? I am a former athlete, and I am intense, and I am a locker room guy, and I like having my guys around. So Eric's right. I can make it here, right? That's important when building a leader, is getting them to believe that they can really, really make it here. You have to constantly, always reminding them, especially the more they make, right? The more they make, they're negotiating with themselves, doing something else. It's your job to let them know that here's the place to be. Here's why you can do it. Here's why you can be the best at it, and you're good enough. We got to get them to believe what? That they can make it here, that they're special, and tell them the truth about what they're great at doing, right? Build from their strengths. We got to get people to build from their strengths, but always, always, always telling them that they got this. You got to tell them hundreds and hundreds of times, right? We have a guy on our team now at the time of this recording. His name is David Aviles. David's at about $60K in income, and I just constantly remind him, like, bro, you were a school teacher. You replace your school teacher income to come here. You're so patient with people. You break things down to the minimum. You taught it to kids. You definitely could teach it to adults, and you're kind and sweet and patient. Man, David, here's the truth. It's a joke that you're not at $500,000 in income. David is one of the few people I know in my life. He has a ton of friends. I could count on two hands about 10 friends, which I can't do for myself, by the way. And David just turned 48. I think yesterday, actually, at the time of this recording, he just turned 48 years old. And he has so many countless relationships of over 20-year friendships, 20-plus year friendships, right? I don't know a lot of people with that. So I remind David, bro, your credibility, how connected you are, your friends trust you to have relationships this long. Man, of course you can make it big in this little deal. And guess what? David woke up, he snapped out of it. He went from 10K to 20 to 30 to 50, jumped to 60,000 in income. And this summer, he's going to cross over 100,000 in income, right? So he began to really believe it, and it manifested. Now they believe they can get a result, is my point, as the more and more you believe in them and pour into them. And the next thing, here's the truth. Here's why your team's not following you. You have to lead personally with your production and your recruiting. You can't possibly build up a factory if you haven't swept the floor first. I know a lot of you, like me, got into the business to not be in the field and selling insurance. I didn't want to be in the field. I didn't want to see clients. I wanted to meet DeJuan personally. I wanted to recruit and build people that did that, right? And you will, right? I wanted to recruit and develop people who can go help clients. So guess what? The more I did it by my example, even though it was something I didn't want to do, the more the team followed me, right? I want you to know, people respect the person who swept the floors and mopped the floors of the factory before they owned the factory. Who knows every part of the factory is my point. You got to do each part of the factory so you could teach it to people. You can't teach it out of a textbook or a manual. You have to teach it from where? You have to teach it from experience, because knowledge is not power. That's just an old thing recycled that we shouldn't even say no more. Knowledge is definitely not power, right? Knowledge is power once it's applied, once you take action. So I was willing, me personally, to sweep the floors of the factory for a couple years when I got started, right? So I can tell people that I did it, so I can show my example. So that means you got to personally produce business, right? You got to personally produce business, and you got to personally recruit people. I call it a minimum, right? A minimum, like me personally, I had a minimum of about 14 clients, maybe 15 clients a month, right? I did that for about my first 4 or 5 years. I was willing to do something uncomfortable from age 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 years old. It was very uncomfortable. It was very unfamiliar with me. We were walking into people's homes. Now we do it on the internet, on Zoom. We were walking into people's homes, protecting their retirement with financial services, right? Getting their family in the right place with financial services. And at my home, my financial household was completely out of whack. So it was so uncomfortable for me to teach other people to do it, and looking at home with my parents and my family at the time and etc. Right? I didn't know my wife back then, but just at 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 years old, like, man, my household is not good. How am I talking to people? But I was willing to do it, right? For about 3, 4, 5 years straight, right? So I could spend the next, 60 plus years of my life free. That's the dream. And you got to be willing to do that too. I wanted to have it all. I wanted my spiritual life, my physical life, my business, but I did not have to have it all perfectly at the same time, right? You know, we always preach God first, family second in this business, and the business got to be third, and it's always got to be that way. Those first two things are not something that I'm willing to compromise, but to some degree, sometime my time wasn't allocated 1, 2, 3. Sometime more time was allocated in spurts for the business, because I knew the time I allocated for the business helped me serve my family, my church better, stronger, long-term, and with more quality. So I want you to know it's important that you get out there and personally produce and help a lot of clients, right? Like I said, I average about 14, 15 clients a month, right? For my first 4 or 5 years. Nothing superstar, nothing even worth recognizing. 2 to 3 clients a week, no big deal. But I had the ability to get that done. The next thing is you got to learn how to manage yourself, your time. You got to have what I call mini days, right? Mini days, 6 a.m. to noon. I'm gonna give you something. I'll leave you with this. Mini days is what helped me really understand our business. Mini days means what? Here's how I schedule mini days. In one day, I want to have 3 days. So I do it like this. Here's a mini day. 6 a.m. to 12 noon. What am I doing right there? That's my personal time. That's my spiritual time. That's my organization time. I call it green time because green is money. I'm getting my personal prospects written down, my personal clients following up. That's one day. Day 2 is 12 noon to 6 p.m. Day 2 is 12 noon to 6 p.m. So what does that look like? From 12 noon to 6 p.m., I'm recruiting, I'm following up on recruiting, I'm onboarding, I'm fast starting, I'm getting people licensed, I'm doing all the recruiting activity, right? Everything needed with my staff, following up. Hey, they got coded. Am I meeting with them to do onboarding? Have I done a grand opening? Everything recruiting focused. Next, day 3, I do what's called what? In my third mini day, which is all in the same day, from 6 p.m. to midnight, all financial stuff. I'm selling life insurance. I'm helping people with fixed index annuities. I'm helping my team with illustrations. I'm training my team on financial services. I'm training my team, period, right? I got all those appointments written down. I got it all on my calendar, right? Here's the truth. We got to write this stuff down. We got to put it in our phones for reminders. Too many of us trust our memory. That's the truth. If we don't have it on the schedule, then it's not happening. That's the truth. Stop trusting your memory. Just write it down. So here's the truth. You're not going to remember half the stuff in this tape if you're not writing it down. We got to get back to writing things down, putting in our notes in our phone, put it in our calendar, having your notebook ready. I have tons of notebooks for years. I was showing my buddy Cedric Blake, man, here's a notebook from 2015, from 2016, right? And he saw that and he was so inspired. He's like, wow, like, coach, I know why you are where you are. You were already planning it 8, 9, 10 years ago. I'm like, yeah, just wrote it down, right? It says in Habakkuk 2:2 in the Bible, right? Habakkuk 2:2, God told Habakkuk, write it down on plain tablets. So when people see it, when they see the vision, they run away. They run, right? And that's not exactly what it meant, but I'm taking it that way in the sense of I got to write down my vision. I got to live it out. People, I'm going to light myself on fire and have people come watch me burn because I'm pumped up. I'm fired up. I'm super excited, right? So we got to write these things down. We got to control our time. So if you're part-time, let me just tell you this up front. You're used to having your time scheduled for you more than likely if you have a job. That's the truth, right? You got your 9 to 5. So what you end up doing, you end up working your job full time, and whenever it's convenient, you work this business. You almost got to make yourself an employee of this business mentally, like this. Like what I did personally, I schedule my work, I schedule my family, I schedule all these events around my business when I was part-time. That's the truth. I got my job 8 to 5, 9 to 5, 5 days a week. And you let your family and friends know. This is what I did. I let my family and friends know, hey, I'm not coming home right after work. I got to go in the field. I'm sitting with clients. And when I am home, I'm on Zoom. I'm doing this. You got to do that with the vision, though. Sell them the vision of, here's what's coming from this. Hey, this summer or this spring or this fall, this winter, dad's going to work hard. Mom's going to work hard for 3 months. I'm probably going to miss a basketball game or two. I'm probably going to miss a ballerina event or two, gymnastics event or two. But guess what? We're going to be rewarded with a Hawaii trip, daddy's treat. I'm taking us to Hawaii for 2 weeks this summer. Or I'm taking us to Disney World for 2 weeks this summer, right? I'm going to work this business Monday night, Tuesday night, all the way through Saturday night in hopes that I'm able to achieve some level of financial independence to reward my family as a sacrifice they made not seeing me as often, right? So that's how I look at that. So if you're part-time, man, you're working your job, you got your meetings, we got our T3s on Tuesday nights, and the rest of the week from 5 to 9 p.m., you should be in the field. Recruiting people, selling people, Take your leader with you to train you, or you take your team to train them, whatever it looks like. You schedule that time and you get out there and go get it. So I'm going to take a break right here, but that was part 1 of the words, or I guess I'll call it the identity of how to build a big base shop, right? How to believe in someone. Step 1 of believing in someone. We'll call it that. Step 1 of building a big base shop.